We are live. Let me make sure. I gotta go. Dr. Mike Reid. Everyone likes when I go through the thing in the beginning here to check all my bells and whistles. So it says we're live, but Facebook screws with this thing so much, so often that I have to make sure we are live. But we are definitely live. So welcome to Revolution Network. This is Dr. Jason Dean. And tonight is one of those times where we do the fireside chats because we're just going to have fun on a Friday night. It's a crazy week. And so, uh, myself and my good buddy, Dr. Mike Reid, first of all, Dr. Mike Reid, thank you for being on tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason. It's my pleasure.
Always. Just so everyone knows, I only have so many people that I can talk the crazy stuff that I really talk about behind the scenes with so many people, and Dr. Mike is one of those people. So we are actively messaging each other throughout the week, almost daily, talking about what we're finding, what we're discovering, and it's a crazy world, isn't it?
It's surreal. I mean, I feel like we're watching some really bad movie, and it's just getting worse, and you can't get out of your seat. So it's unreal times. But I think this is going to be an epic and biblical battle. It's going to change the world for the better.
100%. And it's, I mean, even today, coming home, driving home, I stopped. I left. We left the office, and I told my wife tonight. I said, "It's been a crazy week. I am not cooking, and I'm not cleaning anything. So pick a restaurant. Like we'll pick it up on the way home. And I'm not going in a restaurant because I'm not going to put a mask on. So just find when I'll pick it up, etc." And on the way home, all I see when I'm sitting there waiting for my food to come out is all of a sudden Q drops, Q drops. I'm like, really, Friday night Q drops? Like out of how many days have we been dark now? It's over 10, right?
Yeah, it's been over 10, probably about I would think 13 or 14 now. So I
Oh,
think I think 10 was on Monday, was it not?
I think
So
so, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So
right.
yeah, so it gets crazy as we go, and it's a bad B movie, and I wish we had actually had some decent actors, but like the liberal radicals are not really good actors. Would you agree?
Yeah, they're terrible actors, and it's just you wonder how these people got into politics and have stayed in the politics for this long. I mean, it's just bad. I mean, you would, in your right mind, vote for any of these people to be your next president.
100%. And by the way, just so everyone knows, I wore this shirt specifically for Dr. Reed tonight because Dr. Reed is my resident junior guy. Even when I slowly, every once in a while, I kind of go down a little bit, like, nah, I don't know if it's around, and then Dr. Reed jumps in and says, "He's alive. Just trust the plan. He's alive."
Yeah, hey, somebody on your feed there asked me to touch my nose. I'll touch my nose for you, and to guarantee he's alive. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, you and I are just having a conversation. You got somebody that's pretty well 90% certain that he's alive, and I love that his cousin touched his nose. I mean, it's kind of cool that that's sort of playing out. And I was just reading in a column that he's going to be the October surprise. We're going to see him come out October 17th at Trump's rally in Dallas, which would just blow the world away and bring this whole conspiracy thing together.
yeah. So let's do that. Let's dive into that because let's have some fun. So we'll do Q drops tonight. I promise. We got a couple other things I want to go over because we are both doctors. So we're going to talk about the COVID test, and we're just going to give our background on, ethics of healthcare and ethics of medical system, and we'll go into that. But let's set this up. JFK being conspired against by the Bushes, the CIA, as well as Lyndon B. Johnson, who set him up because of a false flag at that point as well, and then executed after he asked for basically he wanted to print his own money again from the Treasury. He asked for some UFO files and a couple other things, and then literally within days, bullets in the head in Dallas. Now set us up
Right.
because you think that they're playing the game, and then all of a sudden, October surprise. Tell us the knockout punch. Set this up for us.
Well, I think, and Trump, he keeps hinting at the October surprise. It was really interesting. I was watching a video of Trump's, and he was doing an interview in the White House. He said that JFK Jr. is a good friend of mine. He didn't say he was. He said present tense is a good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, we have a picture right here, and he held up a picture of his father, and when he was young, coming out of that little trap door in the president's desk, and he said, "This is the same desk that he's going to come out of." And I went, "What?" You're talking present tense. And I think he was just dropping hints that this is going to happen in the future. So, I mean, just think about it. I mean, if this whole QAnon thing really did start 20 years ago, and if they had the intelligence and they prevented JFK Jr.'s death and they actually kept him alive, and apparently I was just seeing a comm that they keep showing his flight number and he's up at Guantanamo, which is just north of me towards Washington. They're keeping him safe. And just what if Trump, because Trump's 5 steps ahead. He's always, it looks like he's going to lose, then he comes out and he wins. What if they do have him up there and the October surprise? I mean, what other surprise would there be that you can think of other than revealing, Hillary and Epstein and the entire connection of the satanic cabal? What is the surprise that he could roll out that would ensure his win as second term?
Yeah, it's true because we talked before we came on tonight, and we both in politics, understanding politics, both of us said, October surprise. There's always one. There's always something, but we're playing out this game right now that everyone knows Biden's a train wreck, and Biden is not going to be the runner, or if he is the runner and he was to get in, he's not going to stay there. So you're looking at least two. You're looking at Hillary or Michelle, or however that works out, and not that I say that Trump loses to them, but if you say you do have a Michelle or a Hillary surprise in October right before November, even if they gained momentum, there would be a knockout punch. If he pulled out Junior in October for the surprise, I don't think there's any way anyone comes back from that quote unquote knockout punch.
No, there's no chance. I mean, that's a Muhammad Ali knockout, and he's just a rope a dope right now. He's just playing with him, and I think that's what it's going to be. But who knows? I mean, we thought it would be July 4th. We thought before that it might not be. We might look like the crazy ones, but who knows? I mean, this is a game that's played out. I think you and I both agree that the whole game's been played out already. We're just seeing the movie. It's been filmed. It's been edited. We're just seeing the movie play out right now, and I think it's probably a done deal.
I 100% agree. I keep going back and forth, and I go, okay, there's probably some things that might be changing a little bit, but this is do or die, and I obviously we've always been marketed to in propaganda the fact that, like, oh well, this is the biggest election, this is the biggest election, this is the biggest election. I think this is actually the biggest election. Roger Stone talked about it too when I talked to him, and saying, like, this is republic or capitalism. And when I say capitalism, I don't mean what we have right now. Capitalism, real capitalism, is taking the corruption out of politics and agriculture and big business, etc. But this is the republic or capitalism, free market economics versus communism. It's that simple. If they get
Yeah,
it,
and
if
I
they
think
get
it
it, it's over.
and even beyond that, Jason, I think it's freedom versus tyranny, enslavement too. If you want to take it one step further.
100%. I totally agree. Diving in, you have been doing massive amounts of research, and you have a couple things that you want to discuss that are deep down the rabbit hole. I'd love to just have you give some updates on the things you've been going after.
Well, I just want to pre-frame this because, when I'm talking tonight, I've been in the rabbit hole for 25 years. Got exposed to Ed Griffin back in a seminar in Mexico years ago. He gave me his book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, about the Fed. I started to wake up. I knew things weren't right with the world. I met Alex Jones in 2006. He was screaming on a bullhorn outside the Brook Street Hotel where they had a Bilderberger meeting. And that's when I go, like, what's going on? Started reading a lot of David Icke's books, The Greatest Secret. So just some of the resources. But, what I'm talking about tonight is my belief system. So for those of you who are listening in, I just want you to keep an open mind and do your own research. And sort of an analogy I give people when I talk to them, I said, imagine you're a salmon and you're a farm salmon, because we are on a prison planet. And, you've got this net around you that you really can't see. And, every day food falls from above and you're happy and you're fat. And next thing you know, some of your buddies are missing. But life just goes on. And that's sort of what we are as humanity. We're on a prison planet because, we have our food, we have our daily job, we pay our taxes, we don't question where the money goes. We stand in line for a vaccine. Oh, wait a second. Is that vaccine, is that necessary? Are there chemicals in there? So the people who are listening already have this little door that's opened up, and that little door might be on vaccinations. You start to realize, what we talked about years ago, those in alternative care talk about vaccines and sounding alarm. It wasn't so crazy today because now the truth is starting to come out. And then you're catching on with GMO foods, and there's another door that's opening up. And then you're catching on with fluoride, and you thought it was good in the toothpaste, but now you realize, well, your peanut glands, calcified. So, the truth is starting to open up. So what we're talking about is really just about having an open mind and realizing the truth of what's going out there. And what's happening right now, the deep state is being so exposed on all levels, from the Fed to the deep satanic cabal, to the pedophiles, to the rituals, to what's going on with the taxation, the monetary system. And we can go on all night on this, Jason.
Right.
But I think what people have to realize is that this is a battle for your mind and your freedom. And, one thing I want to stress, you have a choice. People who are listening to us have a choice in that. You can sit there and be, and suffer from a stage of apathy and fear, or you can take action. And maybe we can talk about steps that they can do at the end to really get prepared, because Trump said it best. I saw in one of his Q drops, he says, in the next 8 weeks are going to be really hot. And he talked about a hot summer. And I'm here in Virginia. It's hot out. I'm going, oh my gosh, maybe this is a prelude to what's going to start happening. But, for the people listening, listen to what we're saying with an open mind, and then go and do your research. Just Google it, look it up, ask others. And you'll start to see it's like layers of an onion, because I've been in this 25 years. You've been in it for probably just as long, Jason. And it's scary at the same time. It's exciting. So, with that being said, I've been following a lot on this last week on Epstein and Ghislaine. And you would ask me, you said, is she going to hold on to secrets? Is she going to spill the beans? She's scared for her life. I think she's going to spill the beans. And this is where you're going to start to see a lot of this stuff come out. And one thing that I have been watching that most people don't realize is that not only are there, and I've heard this for years and years, DUMBs, which are these deep underground military bases where they're connecting, but they also have submarine traffic as well. And what's interesting is Trump sent the Navy down into the Caribbean. And a lot of that activity was right around Epstein's Island. And there's also another island, I think it's called Water Island, Watch the Water, right? Water Island, which is Joe Biden's brother's island. He owns half of it. So there's a lot of connection, a lot of traffic. But they started looking at a lot of submarine traffic that I've been tracking. And this is how they're shipping a lot of the kids in the containers, drugs, traffic. So there's been this underground trafficking system that Epstein, more or less a pimp, has been running, and is connected to a lot of the billionaires, the elites around the world. And this is one of the ways how they generate so much income, and how they've controlled a lot of the illegal activities in the world. So it's kind of interesting. Getty's art museum just came out, and that's been connected to it as well. A lot of people reporting how there's a lot of dungeons deep underground. Epstein's Island keeps coming up. They're talking about the elevator shaft and the catacombs underneath. I'm curious to know if this is also connected to the Vatican too, because I know the Vatican has a lot of deep catacombs as well. So that came up to me this week, the Red Shoe Society, and then we were talking about Ronald McDonald having red shoes. I went, oh shit, it's like kids don't eat at McDonald's anymore. So that's where I've been this week, just sort of seeing what's happened on the Q drops and following from that perspective. But a lot of that's being exposed, and especially with the elites and their hunting parties and what they're doing with the kids. It's very, very sick. It's very, very disturbing to me, because those of you who know me, I love kids, I love animals, and it's just, I look at this pervasive evilness in the world. I just ask myself, that's not the nature of the human spirit. We're supposed to be a loving creature that gives, that serves, that helps others. When I see this, I just ask myself, how can people be so satanic and so evil and so sick that want to do that to other people?
Dude, people are not, you and I have said this. Last time I had you on it, we said it, and I will say it again, and I will say it a billion other times, and I will say it again when you're on the show again in the future, because no matter how many times we repeat it, people, even if you are watching this stream and you are on here right now and you are awake. The good part is you're waking up. The bad part is so many are not going to be ready for what is really revealed. And again, you're like Mike said, we might be called crazy even more down the road, and it's okay. But when you know and when you find out that they're trafficking children under tunnels, there's islands. This network goes so deep, and just because you didn't know about it doesn't mean it's there. And then when you dive down in, and I've done a show on this, and the fact that Ronald McDonald's shoes are red. They're red for a reason, and there's very possible evidence. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying there's a lot of. I've read it many more than just one source. There's so much evidence that the fast food junk that you guys are eating out there, or people are eating out there, is not what you think it is. And I know some people are going to say, that's disgusting, that's gross, why would you ever go there? This is a prison planet. There is far more to this story than what you're told. We're not talking since 1776. This stuff has been for potentially thousands upon God knows how many years. The things that we are going to find out from this, and it may not be 6 months from now, it may not be a year from now, it may need to be a very slow drip, because consciousness, if you told them tomorrow everything that was going on, Mike, you would lose people. Because
but I'm not sure you and I are ready for the truth, to be honest, Jason, because it's probably going to go deeper than what we believe and what we acknowledge. But a lot of people are going to pop. They're going to lose it when the truth does come out.
100%. And even I say that. I mean, I am very thankful that I'm being woken up as I go, because literally every single day I fall into something else that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And some of those are big mind bombs. Some of those are like, oh my God, I can't believe I just learned about that. That tells me, because we're constantly evolving mentally, that tells me that a year from now, I can't even fathom of the stuff that I'm going to see that may not be what I see right now.
Exactly. And coming back to McDonald's, for those of you, I'm aging myself. There was an old Charlton Heston movie called Solvent Green. If you haven't seen that, it's worth going and looking at, because it's sort of playing out what we're seeing here today. And at the very end, he goes, oh my gosh, the little patties they're feeding everybody is actually humans. So the Planned Parenthood and what they're doing with the kids, and harvesting the organs and selling that around the world, you just start to wonder, what the hell have we been eating? And I think your subconscious and your experience in life is actually exposing you to lessons. And this little voice keeps popping in my head about that movie, and I'm thinking, as soon as you mention this, oh man, well, why'd you have to bring that up, Jason? Because I've been subconsciously thinking that was true, and you sort of validate it in my own mind's eye. So kind of interesting, and I'm curious to see that. I just saw in the news, somebody found some teeth in their McDonald's burger, but we're all natural eaters. We're paleo. We eat natural food, right? So we don't need McDonald's. We're all good for now.
100%. And then people wonder why they're sick, not just because, why we have a world full of absolutely diseased human beings, because we're not meant to be diseased. So I'm going to dive into some Q drops, and I'm going to throw them at you. You just give me what you kind of think, and we'll riff on these, because obviously it's some stuff that's new. And I'm going to do this, and let me disclaimer this first. I'm going to do some sharing of the screen a little bit here so people see it, and then I'll bounce back over to us. And I'm also going to let everyone know that I have all the volumes on my end. Everything is perfectly fine. If you guys are having trouble hearing, it's because Facebook, by the way, Facebook changed the platform in the last week. They went over to the new look, and some people can switch off of it, some people can't. I have not been allowed to switch off of it. They don't allow me to go back to the classic feed. My wife can go back to classic feed. Who knows why? But the volume on Facebook might be messed up. They were messing with the stream all week because I think the algorithm and the whole system's changing. So switch to YouTube, put earphones in, because the volume on our end is perfect. Mike's coming through perfect. So check your end, and then I'll check for it later and see if we can fix. But just so you know, it's not on our end, and I'm literally right in my microphone. So if you can't, my volumes are good here. Let me dive into the first one. Now, this is actually, so Mike, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on my end, so I'll narrate it as we go through. But the first one literally came out today, and this is on the Committee of the Judiciary. This is literally the Judiciary Committee's, this is judiciary.senate.gov. This was his first post, Q's first post today. And literally, the Judiciary Committee releases declassified documents that substantially undercut Steele dossier and the Page FISA warrants. I mean, literally, they're putting it right out there for us, saying that it was completely unsubstantiated.
Yeah, and apparently Hillary ordered it too. So he actually ratted out on Hillary that she was the one that ordered it, and it was direct order from her. Obama knew about it, so this was premeditated right from the very beginning. And they tried to basically set up Trump, and they got their hands caught in the cookie jar. So it's interesting that he actually named Hillary. She not only knew about it, but she was responsible for funding it as well.
100%. And I'm going to read a few lines for this because this is coming from the Judiciary Committee website. It's not us going on some random blog. And what they say is we have learned from the release of the two documents by the Department of Justice. Number one, it is clear to me that the memo regarding the FBI interview of the primary subsource in January 17 should have required the systems to stop and reevaluate the case against Mr. Page. Most importantly, after the interview of the subsource and the subsequent memo detailing the contents of the interview, it was a miscarriage of justice for the FBI and the Department of Justice to continue to seek a FISA warrant against Carter Page in April and June of 2017. And it says the dossier was a critical document to justify the FISA warrant against Mr. Page. So, I mean, this is legal language right here on the Judiciary Senate website, that this isn't just conspiracy theories. Literally, there was a coup of the president being set up.
And what's interesting with this is that, one of the things that Trump has said is so it doesn't look political in his perspective. He's letting Barr and Durham run this whole show. So he's taking a back seat. He's not giving direction. They report to him, but he's letting them run it so that now you can go after some of the higher levels within the FBI and DOJ and charge them with sedition and treason. And if you watch in the news this week, they started with the executions again, right? And this happened a month ago that Trump then made executions legal again in certain states. So these guys have got to be just crapping in their diapers right now because they know they're going to be. Think about it. Right. They know this is like I said. He's 5 steps ahead. Think about this. Now you're going to see these charges of sedition and treason, both of which are the death penalty, and that's the 4th level. A 3rd level is prison, and that's why he's got Gitmo all warmed up and ready to go. And I just saw another executive order by Trump saying, "Hey, get Gitmo ready." And then you got the 2nd level. And I was just looking on Q Drop. There's over 500,000 indictments, Jason. 500,000. Think about that. That's 1 in every 600 Americans. 1 every 700. So 1 in 700 of you are going down. So there's some way that somehow, whether it's corporations or tax evasion or whatever it might be, sex trafficking, who knows? But that's a lot of indictments coming out, and it might be against companies as well. So I shouldn't say that. But if you go to the indictments on the Q map, you'll actually see those that are sealed, unsealed, and those that are non-sealed. But they're there. They're and you can see them by state, which is kind of cool. So you can see how many are in your state. It was kind of interesting. California is number 1, Texas is number 2, and Pennsylvania is number 3 in those orders.
Yeah, totally. So now after that, Q drops this article that I'll put up on the screen. There we go. FBI Crossfire Hurricane Unit watched Trump the day he took the oath of office.
Day he took office.
Dude. So Crossfire Hurricane literally was watching the President of the United States take his oath of office. So previous President Barack Obama, who signed off on all of this, was literally setting it up so that they could watch him take the oath of office. They were spying during the what do you
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I mean, you got caught, man. It's just like you're busted here. So it's just like there's nothing they can really do in their defense unless they can just lawyer up as best as they can. But I think you're going to see a lot hit the fan very shortly over all of this.
Yes. Now I'm going to nicely transition into our wheelhouse, which is healthcare. And now, Dr. Mike and I we do not prescribe medicine. We don't like medicine. So we're not going to talk about medication necessarily. But we are going to talk about is something that both of us technically uh, could request because we're primary care physicians, and that is testing, right? So we're allowed to take blood tests, order out for blood tests, order out for diagnostic tests. So whenever I see something regarding diagnostic tests, especially when we have a pandemic, I'm interested in it because I'm curious. Now I don't order COVID tests. I don't want to. It's not in my wheelhouse. I don't want to get to that world. But it's very fascinating because this obviously completely connects to everything that's going on. And tonight, the first COVID Q dump was a tweet, and it goes to Emerald Robinson, who I honestly don't really know who Emerald Robinson is, but she clearly got Q dropped. She has 200,000 followers. Oh, she's a Newsmax White House correspondent, but she dropped breaking. Sources inside the Trump administration confirmed to me that the CDC has been misreporting the data for coronavirus to inflate the numbers. Again, this is not a blog. This is not conspiracy. This is literally somebody from Newsmax dropping that someone in the administration told her. So this is direct source that the CDC has been misrepresenting the data. What have you seen on your end from this, Mike, on this whole thing? I know it's something similar, but
Yeah,
go through that.
yeah, and I think it's important to understand, and for the viewers, do your research on CDC. It's not a governmental organization. I mean, half these guys, most of them, are either they've got their hand in the cookie jar of big pharma. A lot of them, big pharma pays the CDC, so it's really just a big pharma organization. And think about it. I just want you to think about it. Whose best interest is it in? Is it in your interest or their interest? And it's in their interest to really inflate the numbers, because then they can roll out more testing, make money. They can roll out more hospitalizations, and a lot of places they get 13,000 for a diagnosis of COVID. They can roll out the rationale for vaccinating people, and now they've been caught inflating the numbers as much as tenfold. And for those of you who understand biology, just think rationally. A cold is a coronavirus. A flu you had 10 years ago can be a coronavirus. Your body produces antibodies to that, and it can still show up in a test. So this is where they're saying, oh, we have 100% positivity, and even people who haven't been tested are still coming up positive. I mean, it's such a joke right now that it's either massive fraud or it's massive deception or a combination of both to make money and to facilitate what's coming up next. You see, wear the mask, right? And then next thing you know, oh, we have a solution for the coronavirus so it doesn't kill everyone. Get in line for your vaccines. And because they've already sort of brainwashed people to follow suit, then what's going to happen? They're going to get in line for the vaccine. And what's after that? Well, that's the RFID chip. So this is a sequential step to really just chip the entire world. And if you want to talk about the mark of the beast, now they've got you. They can turn you off in a heartbeat. They can look at your records because it carries with you, and you're screwed because you can't fly, you can't get a job, you can't invest, you can't do anything unless you're following the will of the New World Order. So this is where this is the first step that's really being rolled out, and people who are listening have got to understand that this is a biblical battle for your freedom, for your life. And more importantly, I'm 55. I've lived a great life. If I'm gone tomorrow, I'm more concerned about my kids and their kids and the future of the planet. So this is why I'm very passionate about this, Jason, like you are. And why you're running a freedom network. This all comes down to liberty or death. It really does.
It's so funny you say that because it is about the kids, and it's almost been a theme today because I spoke to Norbert today regarding 5G and cell phones and his amazing technology, and I don't remember if he said it on camera or if he said it afterwards, but basically he said he's got a pretty decent business going, but he said I never intended to make this a business. That wasn't the intention. He said what I saw the writing on the wall, and he goes, I wanted to protect my grandchildren and my children. And that's what it became. I just wanted to study the science. He goes, I'm not a genius. I'm learning every day. I act like I don't know what I'm doing the next day because I want to learn more. and it's more the evolution of learning. And he said, so what I did was I just wanted to protect my kids and my grandkids. That's why I developed the product. It was for them, and obviously it became very popular because it worked. And then as I'm driving home, I'm in my 40s, so I have a long way to go, and I'm looking at this going, you know what, I'm gonna be okay, but we have children out there, our children, your children, right? And it really is about looking and going, okay, they have another 90, 80, 70, whatever it is, plus years left on this planet that we know of. And the decisions we're making right now, the freedom that we're standing up for right now, us saying we will not wear a mask, we will not do this, we will not comply with your unjust, unconstitutional, inhumane orders, isn't even necessarily because of me. I mean, I think about this, and when someone says, put the mask on, now, I'm not putting it on. I'm not putting it on for me, right? I don't want to wear it, but I'm also showing my daughter that I'm not complying with something that's not real. And I even tell her, she's 6. I tell her, this is a bogus issue. This is not real. This is how viruses work. This is how bacteria work. Educating her right from the beginning that this is not right. And don't let anyone make you do something like this unless you believe in your heart that there's something to it or you're willing to go that direction. So I'm looking towards future, and I know you are the same.
Oh, absolutely. I keep coming back to this old Native American saying, we don't own the earth, we've inherited it from our grandchildren. And it's so true. And I think, all of those who are listening, I talked earlier about apathy or standing up and fighting. And I need you to do the rocking chair experience and put yourself on your last breath of your last day of your life and look back and ask yourself, did you do all that you can do to leave this planet a better place? And you innately already know that answer. So this is where you got to nut up, drop the fear. It's not about you, it's about them, and really start speaking up and getting the right governors in place. We got to get rid of some of these witches and dipshits like Northam and Whitmer and Cuomo. Like, who voted for these people? Seriously, there's no common sense upstairs. And I'm a Trump supporter. You're a Trump supporter, so we've got to get behind Trump. Even if you give him $10, $20, $100 a month, whatever you can spare, you've got to get behind this. I just read today, Bank of America gave Black Lives Matter $1 billion. So that whole sort of Antifa movement, which is designed to disrupt everything and destroy America, is being supported by the same people who are going to be taken down. So, I mean, the writing's on the wall. The symbolism is very obvious. And this is where, the listeners tonight, the best thing you can do is start waking up as many people as possible. That's a start. And then get behind some of the governors to help support the future.
I agree 100%. I'm gonna go through these last Q drops pretty quickly because it really is stats, and then I'm gonna go over with Dr. Mike something that is native to us, and it's called an oath that we both took, and we're gonna go over that for a minute before we dive into some other cool conspiracy things that I'm gonna ask him about. But the first one is actually from. Now I'm showing you the Twitter feeds, but the Twitter feeds came from the Q drops. I'm just not showing the Q drops because Q drops are what they are. It's red letters, or it's blue letters with a bunch of type, etc. You really have to go follow the actual link that Q has dropped. That's what gives you the information, okay? So this one's actually from an Andrew Boston, who is an academic MD and author of The Legacy of Jihad, The Legacy of Islamic Anti-Semitism, Sharia versus Freedom. Now, he's obviously in the Islamic world, but he's also speaking truth, and it looks like a lot of Americans follow him. I'm going to show the actual feed here so you can see, and all he's doing, excuse me, is dropping truth. So his tweet is, real data again, comparing seasonal flu deaths in Texas in 2017 and 2018 and 2018 and 2019 to COVID-19 deaths in 2020. This is data. Now this is not just, he's not just picking this out of thin air. And he actually drops the links, data from the Texas Department of Health 2019 flu data, and then he drops the 2018 flu data, and then he drops the 2020 COVID-19 data as of 3 days ago. And if you see here, the infection and the deaths. So influenza in 2017 and 2018 was almost 12,000. Influenza 2018, 2019 was almost 10,000, or was 10,000. And then COVID-19 is in 2020 was 3,300. And this is from Texas. This is actually from Texas state links, Mike. This is like This is actual health data, public health data. So what do you do with that when the data doesn't match what they're telling you?
Well, like I said, this is desperation of the deep state, and they control MSM, and they're going to continue to lie and just inflate the stats. And if you have a research background, even when you look at the vaccine issue, I mean, there's no research there. There's obviously no research here. They're inflated numbers in their best interest, and that's for their agenda, their narrative. What do you do? And this is where I think it was Trump's social media managers coming out and saying that they have their own platform that they're getting ready to launch. So they know that Twitter, Google, Facebook are all part of that cabal system. I think it was Zuckerberg was actually related to. Was it one of the Rockefellers? I think it was
He
the
was a
grandson of the
Rockefeller, yeah.
Rockefellers, right? So they funded him and got him going. And you see Bill Gates, his father was related to the Rockefellers as well with Planned Parenthood. So you see how this is one big incestuous group, and they're desperate. They're going to do whatever it takes not to fall. So this is where I keep coming back to. This is going to be a big battle. Numbers or no numbers, COVID or no COVID. That's a superficial sort of covering on everything that's happening underneath right now.
100%. And the last ones here are, this is a Time, or I'm sorry, New York Times, not that I love them, but New York Times article from, this is actually April 2020. And let me refresh this one more time because I do not subscribe to the New York Times, so it forces me to block this thing out when it comes through because I refuse to give them money. But basically, the CDC labs were contaminated, delaying coronavirus testing. They said this in actually April, and then they updated it in May. The CDC is actually saying that they were contaminating, that the ones that they're using today. Florida labs are not reporting negative test results, report says. So there's stuff going on there, which I reported on a couple days ago. And in this last tweet here, these are all Q drops. Safety standards and core rules for Washington State conveniently end the day after the election. So safety standards and core rules for Washington State conveniently end the day after the election. Is this about a virus or the election? Who benefits the most? And you can click on these actual links and it goes to the Washington government website, which shows that it ends November 5th, 2020. Literally, they're leaving a trail behind them of their criminal activity. And so this actually leads me into what I want to ask Mike from a healthcare standpoint, because this is something I've been battling for quite a while. And then today it kind of came to a head because I'm seeing these numbers double. There's certain states out there reporting that they're actually doubling numbers. So if they have 10 that test positive at 100%, false positive or not, then they double that number to 20. We're literally seeing just random multiplication of numbers, and that's how you're getting these numbers. At what point, Doc, I signed a piece of paper personally that was an oath that said I will do no harm no matter what I do, and my license gives me the opportunity, if I want to run a diagnostic test, and I could report that diagnostic test to the public health if I wanted to. If somebody came in with something, I have complete justification to report that to the public health. Just like if somebody came in was beating their child and I believe that there might be abuse or child trafficking or whatever, because we get education on that as well, I can report that to public health. Yet I wouldn't, because it doesn't make sense and it's not logical. At what point do the medical establishment out there, and most of them are good people, I understand that, nurses, doctors, etc. At what point do we consider this an ethics violation and insurance fraud?
Well, I think it's already there. But the biggest challenge that we're seeing right now is you've got a lot of medical doctors who are trying to speak up and they're being silenced. There was a medical doctor who's come out speaking on this, and his association threatened his license. So, a lot of these guys are trying to speak up. It's just anybody who's always been the point of the spear, it's got to be really sharp, or someone's going to just take you out. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these doctors who are trying to get the truth out there, who do want to expose it. There was 4 hospitals in Texas that actually had a news conference, and they basically came out and said, we're not going to partake in these lies and this corruption anymore. So there are those that are trying to come out. But when you think about it, when they control the 6 groups that control the narrative I don't think it really matters anymore. This is where I think Trump, Q, have got to come out with their own sort of social media platform and really just go to head with this, or Trump has ready to go an executive order where he can actually take over all forms of electronic media. So I think it's going to get to the point where he's just going to throw the switch and saying, "Give me the wheel; it's now mine." And I think that's where they're going to start ruling out the truth of what's going on. I think, to be honest, I think it's going to happen soon. I don't know if they can wait till September because it's just too close to the election. I think it's going to happen like pretty soon, like within beginning of August.
Yeah, I think something has to give. And I'm not saying the whole thing has to give, but I think you have to have some sort of information come out. I cannot confirm or deny this. I literally just saw a post, but it said, I believe it said maybe New York Times or something like that, and I'm gonna have to go search for it because it literally just came up before I got on with you. Was that the president again stated that there will not be a nationwide mask order. Now, he said that in the past, but he's sticking true to it. We also know that Georgia governor, which I don't recall his name off the top of my head,
Right.
he prohibited cities and communities and whatever else counties from doing it. I'm hoping DeSantis follows, but this is all wrapping up, and we need to see something because are we expected to go through the next 2 weeks of July, August, and September with the same BS playing over and over every day? Because I mean, I think you agree. Even the sheep at some point are getting a little. People are starting to wake up. People are getting fed up and kind of just saying, like, wait a second. I mean, I literally went and got coffee tonight, and the person was wearing a mask. They handed it to me, and they handed it to me with no glove on. Now I'm not saying I believe in the glove and the mask thing, but can you show me in what insane planet that we think logically and common sense wise that a mask is going to stop this massive horrible thing, but handing something to somebody with a hand without a glove on is perfectly okay?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
coming
I
to
know
insanity.
it's totally insane. But yeah, that's the average person who's not educated. They're just told what to think, right? And that's where there's sheep in the pen, salmon in the salmon farm. It's that's the narrative, and they've been told that MK Ultra approach that's been sort of driven into them for the last 20, 30, 40 years. The people who line up for that vaccine because vaccines are great for you, they're not going to question authority. They're going to accept it. Hey, wear a mask and save everybody else. They hear that. And Hitler used to say, you tell a lie, enough times, it becomes truth for people. And that's just the narrative that they're pushing. So it doesn't matter, from that perspective. I told the story, I was in Costco the other day, and I just had a throwdown with a guy. He's like, hey, put on your mask. I'm only one that didn't have a mask. And we started exchanging superlatives, and it's just like, man, I'm wasting my time because this guy is so brainwashed. And just to make a long story short, there's a movement right now to get Trump to pass an executive order to ban all mandatory mask wearing. You want to wear it, go ahead, but I'm not going to wear it. Shereen's not going to wear it. I mean, Shereen produced these really cute exemption cards.
Nice.
So we're gonna clip them on. She's got a nice pink one. I got the black one, and it's like,
it makes it
don't
look
tread
more
on me,
official
buddy.
too.
What's
It
that?
makes it look more official. Like, seriously, you could totally look like you're in the medical system with that hanging off of you, and no one's gonna. That's the crazy part about this is, I get asked this question a lot on posts, and I also get messages saying, "What do I do? How do I get past this?" And I understand people get scared. You got to get out of that fear band, first of all. But second of all,
Yeah.
honestly, this is how easy it is. Dr. Mike just showed us. He literally took what Dr. Shereen, his wife, who's a good friend of mine, who's awesome, by the way. She's listening. That's why I said that. You're awesome, Dr. Shereen. She took a card that looks very official because it's got color ink on it, and then she put it in a nice little band that looks identical to someone in the hospital or medical or whatever. And let me tell you, if you put that right here and you say medical, I guarantee you the person sitting at the front of Walmart or the grocery store or Home Depot, guess what? They're not going to question you when you walk by and you say medical. They're not.
No.
That's what it comes down to. Control. I mean, they're just parroting the control that's been put on them.
It's actually illegal. It violates your constitutional rights. It also violates federal law. And even the governors who are mandating it, like the Whitmers and Northrams, it's actually illegal what they're doing. So it's just a matter of time before it gets flipped over. And just bear with it another week or two. I'm sure it's gonna change very quickly.
100%. Now, I want to have some fun, okay? This is
All
what we're
right.
gonna do. I want to know some things, all right? So Dr. Mike is just gonna give me what he knows for all of you, because I know there's a couple of favorite subjects here. What have you been reading? What have you been finding when it comes to Project Looking Glass and or the timelines intersecting?
Well, here's what I'm going to give everyone a resource. I want them to go watch it because this guy's pretty believable. And if you go on to YouTube and you type in Bill Woods and Project Camelot, Project Camelot's really interesting because it's basically a lot of UFO researchers, and this goes way back. I've been listening to this for years. And Project Camelot basically just really sort of delves into the ufology stories, into ET technology. And Bill Woods is a former CIA Special Forces, and he basically had that sort of built-in sixth sense, and they used him as part of the CIA operations with the military-industrial complex to really look into and use the technology of the Looking Glass. And the Looking Glass, apparently, from all the readings, from all the research, and this is just from all the different people who are coming in and sharing this research. It's a way of using technology. It's reverse engineered technology from UFOs to actually look at possible. It's not looking at the future, but it's looking at possible scenarios that could happen. Sort of like we saw with Doctor Strange in the Avengers, where he went through like a million different possible scenarios. It sort of gives you that same outcome. And there's a divergence. It was in December 21 of 2012. And it was a crossing of the timelines, and it was from that point forward where, and this is where this whole game, they know this whole game is going to play out to this scenario. So what we're seeing is actually on a possibility timeline, and it could go multiple ways, right? But this is the timeline that they said it was going to happen, and it did happen from December 20th, 2012. That's why this is all played out. It's a movie, it's scripted, it's already done. We're just watching it play out. And here we are in a scenario where, up to the election, all of this stuff is supposed to happen, and then once Trump wins, then a lot of this other technology is going to come out, from free energy to the truth on the chemtrails and everything else. But there's so much to expose, and like you said, Jason, I think they have to trickle it slowly, probably over a course of a year or two. I don't think they can bring everything out, in 30 days. It's too overwhelming for most people. Especially when they start learning about the toxins in the food and big pharma and the vaccines and chemtrails and how we've been poisoned, and basically we're cattle to create income and money for the ruling elite.
All right, so here's the next question for you. I'm gonna let it come out of your mouth tonight because sometimes they get mad at me when I talk about it. I'm gonna let everyone know that it's not just
Oh, thanks. Throw me under the bus.
Okay, so it's apparent now that I don't think we're alone in this universe, and there might be some good and bad beings, bodies, species, whatever you want to call it, that might be battling in outer space, and that Space Force is not just to battle China and Russia in space, because we don't really necessarily have to do that. Is there other life out there, Doc?
Well, let me come back to the salmon in the farm pond, and you look in your little world, you see all other salmon, you think, oh, we're human beings, and here we are in this little pen, and we're happy. But outside of that, it's a big ocean. That ocean are all sorts of life forms, small and large, those you can't see, those that are in large scale, like whales. And if we look at our planet, we're very myopic to think that we're the only species in the universe. And to think on this timeline with the age of the Earth, the universe is so much older than we are, that there has to be, I've always believed, other life forms. And just reading and keeping an open mind to possibilities of other life forms. We go back to Eisenhower and how he had a pact with the Greys and exchanging technologies in exchange for them allowing to harvest some of the humans and experiment and do things with us. And that's where we have what's called MJ-12. And MJ-12 was 12 people that were given the technology. The deal was it had to come back to the military industrial complex and to different corporations in order for them to use it and profit from it. And this is where fiber optics, we had telecommunications like cell phones, computers. I mean, the list goes on and on. Artificial intelligence and things like that. And think about how much that's evolved in the last few years. And I knew you were going to ask this question. And years ago, I was reading David Icke, and he's talked about the reptilians. I'm going, I didn't really want to believe in that. And you saw it in the movies and things like that. And then just listening to somebody else who was an old time pastor who's been doing this for like 50 years, and I think that's all this guy does. And he was talking. He said something that was very profound. He said there's 9 different species. 2 of them are very nefarious. He says we have the grays above us and the draconians below us. And I just about lost my shit, because that's innately what I've been feeling for years. And I think that the draconians are species that are basically manipulating people. I think they're basically controlling a lot of elites. That's just my personal belief. I could be crazy. And I think there are good components there as well that are actually helping us out. And that's where, a lot of people are saying there's Pleiadians that have given us the looking glass that are helping humanity survive because we're on a path of destruction. The doomsday clock is just a few seconds from midnight. And if we don't change our environment, we don't change nuclear war, we don't change population growth, everything, we're doomed. And I think that we're at a pinnacle right now in history that this is a war. It's a silent war, but it's also a galactic war. And I think it's being played out. I think it's already won. So for those of you who are freaking out, just understand, I think, and Jason, I think you'll agree that it's all going to be good. I mean, we're going to have to go through a little bit of mental pain once the shock hits everybody. But after we have all the hangings of all the elite, and we put them in Gitmo, I think things are going to come on free energy. We're going to eliminate income tax. We're going to Nasara, and we're going to a silver-backed system that's going to eliminate debt. It's going to create more wealth for people, a better distribution of wealth. I think there's going to be a lot more love and less war and less sickness on the planet. I think it's going to be good for everybody. So.
I'm as you're talking, I am listening, and I'm I'm scrolling for them. I showed them Eisenhower and the alien meeting supposedly, and I actually took them to like Washington Times links, like it wasn't just random blogs. And then I took them over to Paul Hellyer, and I showed them a little bit of Paul Hellyer talking about it. Literally, I wasn't playing the video, but showing him on national television talking about it. And then I took them to exopolitics.org, which is a doctor, and I don't remember his name off the top of my head. And let me find it real quick, because I don't want to.
It's Michael Salia, is it not
Michael
Salia?
Yep. So that's him.
Yeah.
And his latest article, which was written 3 days ago, was Roswell UFO crash to be officially disclosed as time-traveling future humans.
So that's kind of freaky. It's just now we got to put the time travel issue in there, and I haven't wrapped my head around that one. I can't remember what I ate yesterday for supper, so never mind. Hey, I'm present time right now, so never mind that. But it's interesting. For those people who want to do a little research, you can go to Solar Warden, SOLAR Warden, and that's part of the space program that's out there. It's been out there for like 20, 30 years, and even the president of Skunkworks, which is the Lockheed Martin division for special ops, he's even said, we have the technology to go to the stars, and we've had it for 20, 30 years. We're like 10, 20, 30 years ahead that what most people think. So, and I've talked before, just even Google the TR-3B, which is the triangular anti-aircraft. It's already online, so you can go and look at it and understand that the Department of Defense has already rolled out the Tic Tac, the Nimitz. That's a really cool video. If you haven't seen that, just go research Tic Tac and the Nimitz encounter, which is really, really cool, and they're exposing they're in a relation with that as well. So it's out there. That's just a soft disclosure, and I think you're going to start to see more and more of that happening.
100%. The music on the video just scared the hell out of me because it showed up on the website and I thought something else was going on. I took him to the Solar Award and I showed him that article as well, and that was from Huffington Post, so it was even a liberal article, but it's it's out there. You just have to research it. So it's a fascinating game. Something is definitely going on, and again, I tell everybody it's not all going to be something you're familiar with. There's going to be some things that you have to be willing to look at, and if you're not willing to look at certain rabbit holes, then don't go down those rabbit holes. But I will tell you, as I have learned from many different sources, and I learned this really well in the chiropractic space, in the natural health space, because as Doc will tell you as well, we hang around people who tend to be very not only just scientific thinkers, but very logical common sense. They like to rationalize things and understand how something's happening. And my last chiropractic conference was literally seminar, was literally you're going to have to unlearn things that you've been told for a long period of time so that you can actually learn the correct information. Because if you dive into a rabbit hole that you can't wrap your head around, you're not going to be able to learn because you didn't unlearn to begin with. It's like when your parents told you something when you're 5 years old. Like, our parents raised us, they did the best they could. But even, I mean, I'm sure you can say it today at your age, I can say at my age, that my parents did a great job. But there's a lot of stuff that they told me that I've had to discard because it was decent. But now that I'm an adult, things are a little different. There's a different viewpoint to it. You have to sometimes let go of something from the past, let go of that thing that's sitting on you, and understand what is actually potentially really in front of you.
Right. Absolutely. I call it unbrainwashing. And there's a lot of new knowledge that's going to be rolling out. And you just have to have an open mind and be willing to absorb it into your own mindset. So,
100%. So, here we go. Final question before we head off tonight. What do you think you're going to see in the next, say, months? Because I'll have you on before the election again. So, what do you think we're going to see in the next month? And then what's your kind of your parting messages to the Patriots out there?
I think, I keep seeing how this whole, coronavirus mask issue, mandatory vaccine, how it's starting to sort of swell. And I think you're going to start to see some false flags. I think the deep state is going to start launching a salvo of last desperation sort of attempts. I think, people have to be prepared for that and understand that this is all just part of their last ditch effort to stay alive. Because you think about it, they're going down, they're being exposed. You're going to see politicians, a lot of politicians. You're going to see Hollywood pedophiles. You're going to see elites. You're going to see the Queen, the Vatican, Prince Philip. Look, all of these guys are going to be exposed, and the whole world is going to say, WTF is going on. So just understand that they are the ones that are controlling everything. They still have money, and they're going to just throw it all on the table. And they're going for broke right now. And just understand that this is a battle. And the people who are listening, all I can tell you right now is do not be apathetic. This is a whole replay of Nazi Germany, where they're burning the books, they're lying to you, they're turning you on, the against the Jewish people. It's the same sort of thing. It's just reverse. They're turning against the people who are pro-Q or pro-Trump. Don't get caught in that division of racism or male-female or politics. Always take the higher road. Always take a state of love and gratitude. Always come at them with just getting to open up their minds. But on the flip side, we have an old saying, it's okay for them to deal the cards as long as you cut the deck. And what I mean by that, don't let them stack it against you. Be prepared, get locked and loaded, be willing to fight, be willing to be prepped in case we do go dark, in case they shut down the internet, which is a strong possibility. You and I know that. And understand that it's a choice. You can stand up and fight for your rights and your kids' rights, or you can crawl back under the covers. It's red pill, blue pill time, guys. And it's the apathy is no longer an excuse. It really isn't. And whether you're a chiropractor listening to us tonight, or you're a citizen, with your mother or father, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is about freedom over tyranny. This is about our future versus enslavement. This is about life over death. And you get to make a choice, but you have to choose. There's no gray here. It's black or white.
I would 100% agree. And voice is going. The last thing, it's funny you said that because obviously the last key drop tonight at 5:47 that I did show you, but the title was "The COVID-19 narrative ends the day after the election. Expect cyber attack and attempts on November 4th."
Right.
It's not going to end, guys. You're going to have false flags. You're going to have things that go off. They're going to make you. They're going to try to scare the hell out of you to not show up for voting day, and they're prepping you for it. That's what's going to go down. But we, again, as Doc says, we have to fight. We have to go into this mentally and not just physically strong. Like, yes, you can have your guns, you can have your food, you can have your family ready. You have to be mentally strong. When something goes down, if they blow up a country, I mean, I know this is going to sound crazy, but if they decide to nuke something, guess what? You still have to show up. And they will do anything they can to keep control. So if people don't think that they would nuke, now hopefully the nuke doesn't go off and it's handled before it detonates, because there's other powers involved there.
Right.
But they will go to that end. And so mentally, you have to be strong. You have to stay at that really high vibration, as Doc talked about, because if you get too low, if you get in that apathy, fear, etc., you're going to crawl back into your shell. You're going to crawl into your cave, and you're going to want everyone in the government to take care of you. And that is not freedom. Our founders fought way too hard for that to occur.
That's right.
The high vibration, the high frequency, high level of conscious, high level of spirituality, prayer, meditation, you name it. When you stay up there, I mean, they could literally drop a bomb and you're not going to care about it, because you are focused and intent on restoring our freedom.
That's right.
So
absolutely, Jason. I concur.
That's our parting messages tonight from both Doc and myself. And Dr. Mike Reid, you are amazing. Thank you always for your information. And by the way, I do a lot of research, but I will tell you, I got to give credit to the source. A lot of stuff Doc shoots over to me and says, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I find ways to bring that in as well, because he's a great researcher. He's good stuff. I appreciate him a lot. So please send your love to him.
Well, hey, listen, for those of you listening, I want everyone to hit those love buttons right now for Jason, because I know the amount of time, dedication, and sacrifice you have to put in. I know you got a 6-year-old daughter that needs her daddy. You got a wife, amazing, loving wife. So for the doctors who are listening, just hit that love button, send Jason some smiley faces and some hearts, because this guy's got big brass ones, and we need leadership like you, Jason. So I salute you, brother, for doing what you do and keeping America strong and free, buddy.
I appreciate the same to you, brother. Tell Dr. Shireen that we thank her for her husband's time. I messaged her and said, "Hey, I'm stealing your husband tonight." And she said, "Oh, thanks for telling me." He doesn't tell me. I go, "It's okay. Sometimes I say things too, and I tell my wife about 5 minutes before it's going to happen, and she says, 'When were you going to tell me this?'"
That's exactly what happened. Is, "Oh, he didn't tell me with Jason," and I see he just asked me.
All right, guys, share this far and wide. Get the message out there. There are so many patriots out there right now. And do me a favor again, too. I appreciate all your love and support. I really do. But I know there's other patriots as well. Like, turn off your television. Turn off the television shows. I mean, if you ask myself and Doc here and the people he knows and the people I know, ask them how much TV they watch. And I will guarantee you they're usually working or learning something. And so turn off the garbage and turn on other patriots. I mean, there's a ton of YouTube channels out there right now who are promoting the same thing we're promoting, or something a little bit of different viewpoint, maybe something a different rabbit hole. Follow those people and watch them and spread that information, because the more you do that, it really does send out wavelengths into the universe. It literally does change a country and a planet. So please do that. Support your patriots.
Absolutely, and support the leaders, the governors who are running to make the change. Get behind those people. Just get out there and help promote them. If you're a chiropractor, or even if you're a citizen, go to CalJam out on the West Coast and go to the events on the East Coast. But go out and support Trump and support the rallies. And this, like I said, it's 3 months, guys. 3 months before the election. Is that right? 3 months, pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
So
October, yeah.
yeah, yeah, 16 weeks, right?
Yep.
So about 4 months. So get behind the movement right now, and everyone's got to stand up because every voice counts.
Yeah, and real quick too, I want to ask you one last question. This is really the final question, but I just thought of it. I'm working. I want to find somebody who will help develop a chiropractic webpage or a resource where people can, because we're getting asked I'm getting constantly asked, where are the good chiropractors in the country, and I want to put that together because I want people to go to somebody who is, not that I don't love all chiros, but like I want people to go to great chiros like the Billy DeMosses of the world who puts on CalJam, the Troy Dukowitzes, the Dr. Shireen Reeds, all these awesome people out there. But tell me, because I'm sometimes not as connected to this as you are, what are some of the really good seminars and organizations that people can go to out there? Like if there's chiros out there who want to be better at what they do to help patients, what are some of the big seminars? Like I know Mile High and stuff like that. What are some of the ones you know?
Yeah, like Mile High's great. Daniel Knowles runs a great seminar. Billy DeMoss's CalJam, I think he runs that end of January. Stu Warner and Terry Warner, they run a great pediatric seminar. They've brought out Robert F.K. Jr. to that one before as well. So, and he's spoken on the vaccine issues. The ICA puts on some great seminars as well. There's great philosophy seminars that are on the East Coast that you guys can go to. So, my recommendation is just look around, get a feel for some of the ones that are principled to get back to the roots of chiropractic, and those that's inside out, and also those that are making a movement in the world. Like I just love what Billy DeMoss does, and he does for CalJam. And he's had people on food, on nutrition, on environment, on vaccines. And that's a massive movement in California. That's a really great one to go to if you're on the West Coast, or even if you're East Coast, just fly over. I mean, it's a four-hour flight. But just get involved in some of those bigger seminars if you're a chiropractor or alternative healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. And they will teach you how to effectively and quality take care of a lot of people, because at this point, when we go into this new movement, we need natural healers out there. Chiropractic should be at the forefront, along with naturopaths and other people as well. And I do not want to practice out there only seeing 20 people a week, not because that's not good, but I want to help the masses. We literally could change the healthcare profession overnight if we get these offices full of people understanding how the body and the spine really work.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to be great for alternative healthcare, for the homeopaths, naturopaths, chiropractors. Once all the dust settles, it's going to be a good day for alternative healthcare.
Awesome. Guys, have a wonderful night. Again, Dr. Mike Reid, Dr. Jason Dean, Revolution Network, on a wonderful, fun Friday night. Have a blessed weekend. Get some rest, and let's gear up for a crazy couple months. Have a wonderful night.